This is Judge Joe Brown, and you're watching We All Be News TV, the
News-free Dixie.
News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Welcome, family, to another wonderful infotainment edition of The Artivist Thinks. I'm your host for the empowerment segment, Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2, The Artivist. I'm broadcasting from Ground Zero. Right now, we are just concluded witnessing a inter-prayer service in honor of 3 lynching victims of 1892 Memphis, Tennessee. Also known as the city of good abode. We are talking about the lynching at the curve, the 3 lynchings that inspired a young A.L.L to launch her anti-lynching crusade, her international anti-lynching crusade. We're dealing with the March 9th, 1892 lynching, the 125th anniversary of the McDowell, Moss, and Stewart lynchings. They were the co-owners of the People's Grocery Store on the Curve, a neighborhood known as the Curve in South Memphis. They were lynched because they were successful black businessmen. Their competition actually killed them. A guy named William Barrett, a white grocer who had a grocery store across the street from the People's Grocery Store. And we must understand that the People's Grocery Store, which was started in 1889 by Thomas Moss, he was also a mailman, a very much well-respected black man, or actually known as a black leader of the Memphis black community. He started the People's Grocery Store back in 1889. It was a very popular grocery store. Matter of fact, its patrons not only included black people but also white folks as well. But they were in direct competition of a white grocer by the name of William Barrett. As I said before, he was very jealous of the fact that they were very economically successful in their business. And I have recently come across some information that 90% of lynching victims were business people. Like, people used to think that people were getting lynched. Even A.L.L before her best friend, Thomas Moss, got lynched, they assumed that the black folks who were being lynched were actual criminals, that they were thugs and criminals and rapists, and that the people being lynched were no good degenerates. But that all changed on March 9th, 1892, where Thomas Moss, once again, A.L.L one of her good friends, she was actually the godmother of his baby daughter, Maureen, and his wife, Betty, was also 5 months pregnant at the time with his son. He was a victim because he was successful in economics. And A.L.L soon learned that the reason why a lot of black folks were being lynched was not because they were criminals, but also because not because they were criminals, but because they were successful in their business, and a lot of them were too ambitious. Maybe they aspired to political position or, economics. And she also figured out that a lot of the black men who were accused of raping white women were actually in consensual relationships with these white women, and that was the nail in the coffin. But yeah, she soon discovered that these men actually had consensual relationships with these white women. And that drove the people, the white folks of the South, crazy, the white power establishment. First, A.L.L was a school teacher. She used to teach at the city schools in Memphis. She was driven out by the city school system by black folks who said she complained too much about the inequities of the system. When she complained about how the black teachers got way lower wages than the white teachers and inadequate school conditions for the children as well as the teachers, the black folks ran out the city school system in Memphis, but the white folks ran out the South. The white folks ran out the South because she told the truth about these lynchings. She exposed the political reasons behind the lynchings. So she lost her best friend, Thomas Moss, standing ground zero where they was lynched. On March the 5th, 1892, the man defended the People's Grocery Store from William Barrett and his white power henchmen. William Barrett, like I said, was jealous of the fact that the People's Grocery Store was doing so much great business that he actually went down to the white power structure to get deputized. They have a deputized white mob attack the People's Grocery on March 5th, 1892. Thomas Mouse and his men got wind of this, and he had the Black Tennessee Rifle Association, or Black Tennessee Rifles. They all gathered around the People's Grocery on the night of Saturday, March the 5th, 1892 to defend it. They successfully defended the People's Grocery in a gunfight, but they turned themselves in once they realized that the white folks that they were defending their property against were so-called lawmen in plain clothes. 3 men were injured, who was a part of the white mob that were injured by the gunfire that night. So Thomas Mouse, Calvin McDowell, and Will Stewart all turned themselves in along with the guns. So people was afraid that the white men who were injured, one in particular, would die that night, perhaps leading to a race riot, or perhaps leading to the men actually being lynched. So for a couple of days, you had black men with guns stationed outside the Shelby County jail, which was like a fortress. It was built like a fortress to protect against the men being taken out their jail cells and lynched. However, the guy who was feared to be dying or in his life, he actually pulled out the white man. And so I guess the white folks figured that, hell, if they can't get the Niagara through the legal system or the just us system, if the white man was not going to die, because if the white man died, they might have got, their kangaroo court justice. They would have actually got these black men killed, even though they were firing in self-defense, and the white men never properly identified themselves as being officers of the law. So, as usual, white folks took justice in their own hands. By that time, the black folks stopped because that the white man was not going to die. That means everything was safe, and they went home, which was a mistake. So you had 75 masked and armed white men went to the jail. I can't even say they kidnapped the people, because the jail was built like a fort. That means they had to have inside help. So they were allowed entry into the jail. They escorted Thomas Mouse. They escorted Calvin McDowell. They escorted Will Stewart out the jail. They brought them to this spot where I stand right now near the railroads, the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad, whatever you call it, right by the railroad. In this spot right here in this area, they actually had the white media come to witness what they were about to do. This extrajudicial thing they was doing. They had the white media witness what they was about to do to these 3 black men. You could actually look up, the details, because of the media, the contemporary media at the time, catching everything in horrific detail about what happened to the man. The man was shot at point blank range. Calvin McDowell in particular, he reached out for the rifle of one of the white men. They proceeded to shoot his hand off. They shot his hand off. They shot the fingers off one by one. And then they proceeded to shoot him all up in the face, shot him in the neck and shot holes in his face. Shot out, a hole in the left side of his face where his eyes should have been. Shot the other side. They shot 4 holes in his face that you could actually put your fist through. The holes were so big, his brains was oozing out. Will Stewart was very stoic. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, and he was waiting and ready to meet his fate. And they shot him in the neck and the face as well. And Thomas Mouse, the black leader, the very popular Thomas Mouse, considered a black leader by both black and white community of Memphis. He pleaded for his life. He said, "Look, I got a wife, a little girl, and a child on the way. Can I please be spared my life?" Once he realized that they were not going to spare his life, he basically was asked his last words. Like, "You have any last words, Mr. Mouse, before we end your life?" He said, basically, "Tell my people to go west. There is no justice for us here. Tell them to go west." And they proceeded to shoot him up, and the rest is that. And like I said, this was the lynching that really galvanized and made Ida B. Wells the iconoclastic, black history icon that she is today. This is the lynching because it really hit close to home for her, because this was her best friend, who was not a degenerate, who was not a criminal, who was not a thug, who was not a rapist, who was not a murderer, but a provider, a true family man, an epitome of black manhood, an ambitious young fellow who wanted to serve his community. This was horrible. The funeral was held at Avery Chapel, which still exists to this day. It was an overflowing capacity crowd. You had a lot of folks outside probably had more folks outside the church than actually in the church. Abby Wells proceeded to write editorials about what happened to her friends and her media platform, the Memphis Free Speech. This is why it's so important to have true black media. Even back then, Abby Wells understood or overstood the importance of black media. Like she said, that people must know before they can act, and there's no greater educator to compare with the press. The people must know before they can act, and there is no greater educator to compare with the press. So she used her platform to talk about what happened to her friends. Started documenting the lynchings. Came probably one of the earliest black investigative journalists in America. Very good at what she did. And you got to think about Abby Wells was born into slavery July 16th, 1862 down in Holly Springs, Mississippi. She came from slavery to being an educator, to being a news person, journalist of the highest order. And this was not easy to do because women journalists were not looked upon with kind eyes back in that era. So she was a pioneer on so many different levels. But once she figured out the reason behind these lynchings, she told the black folks, look, she made sure she echoed the words of her late great friend Thomas Moss, go west, leave Memphis. Memphis does not respect you as a human being. Black lives do not matter in Memphis. Leave here. And so actually, by some estimates, 6,000 black people left Memphis and went west, went to Oklahoma territory, went to California, went anywhere but Memphis. They left Memphis. 6,000 black folks, which has a dramatic economic effect on the infrastructure of Memphis. As a matter of fact, just months after the deaths of her friends, there was a trolley strike. You know, black folks refused to ride the trolley. And actually the white power structure, the white power brokers visited Abby Wells in her Memphis Free Speech office to complain about the fact that black folks were not riding the trolley. Black folks were the biggest, customers of the trolley system in Memphis. Black folks are the largest consumers in American economics. So Abby Wells asked them, that's interesting. Do you know the reason why they're not riding the trolley? They said, well, we can't figure it out. We hope you can figure it out and get us, get some good news and good thoughts for us. And she said, okay. And so she actually wrote an editorial or article about her meeting with these white power brokers that control the trolley. And she said, they told me that a lot of y'all not riding the trolley. Keep up the good work. So she told the black community to keep up the good work. But here's the thing. Abby Wells was an interesting person. She believed in self-protection. She believed in gun rights. She believed that a Winchester rifle should have a place of honor in every black home. She believed these things. Abby Wells was a small, petite woman. She was about maybe 5 feet, 5'1", but she used to walk around Memphis with guns on her person. She used to carry guns on her person. She was a pistol-packing mama. So she used to carry these guns on her person because she knew that her life was in danger at any moment in a system of white supremacy racism. But what she did that got her kicked out the South, to bring out the South, was the fact that she figured out what the lynchings were. Like I said, through my research, I found out through my research that 90% of the black people who were lynched were business people. 90% of black folks who were lynched in this country were business people. That included Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Will Stewart. So Abby Wells put all this together and said, look, they're not killing black folks because they're criminal thugs and degenerates and things of that nature. They're killing black folks to keep us in our place, to keep us in that sunken space. Y'all saw the movie Get Out, the sunken space. To keep us in our sunken space, to keep us out of politics and economics and other areas of human activity. And that a lot of these black men who they say were rapists were actually in consensual affairs with white women. And so they broke the camel's back right there. And luckily for us, Abby Wells was out of town when she wrote, when they heard about her stuff. So she was out of town when they actually destroyed her newspaper office looking for her. Her pen name was A.L.L, so the wife didn't really know who they were looking for per se, but thank God that she was out of town when that happened. And so she was actually unofficially banned from the South. If she ever showed her face in the place, she probably got killed or lynched herself. So this is the thing that we're dealing with. We're still dealing with stuff today. We're still dealing with Mike Brown. They just found new video about Mike Brown having a relationship with the clerks at the Ferguson store. We were finding about information about Emmett Till. When they killed Emmett Till, Senator James Eastland from Mississippi actually dug up information on Emmett Till's father. For years, Emmett Till's mother, Mammy, tried to get information on what happened to her ex-husband, Louis Till. The only way she could identify her son's body was by the ring, his father's ring, with the initials LT. So James Eastland, when the brothers went to trial for Emmett Till's murder, J.W. Malum and Roy Bryant went to trial for Emmett Till's murder, he was able to leak that information about what actually happened to Louis Till to the white press. Louis Till was executed basically because they said that he raped and murdered white women over in Italy. So he was executed by the military, by the U.S. military. He's buried in a section over in France for so-called criminals who were wearing the uniform. But it's hard to believe that he actually got a fair trial. There's evidence that came out recently that he was railroaded in the courts, in the military courts, when he was court-martialed. So they're trying to say that, well, if his father was a rapist and murderer, that the fruit don't fall too far from the tree. They always victimize the victims, whether it be Sandra Bland or Emmett Till or Trayvon Martin. They're always going to blame you for being the victim. This is the system of white supremacy, racism. And getting back to what happened at the People's Grocery Store, Thomas Moss and them had a successful business only to be lynched for it. And their competitor, the man who initiated the white mob that eventually killed Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Will Stewart, actually was able to buy the People's Grocery Store for pennies on the dollar. This evil man was able to purchase his competitors after he snuffed their life out, business for pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar. So you dealing with this beast. When people say, when I hear other black folks say the most racist people they ever met were black people, how in the hell can we be the most racist people you ever met? We don't benefit from a system. Racism, I consider anybody as a racist that benefit from a system that gives them privilege at the expense of other people. Black folks, by their definition, cannot be racist. I can hate people, I could be biased, I could be prejudiced, but I cannot be racist. Race is not emotion. Racism is not emotion, it's a system. Racism is not emotions, it's a system put in place to deny certain people certain privileges so that other folks, certain groups of chosen people could benefit. So by that definition, all white people are racist. I didn't say they were bad people. There's a lot of nice white people. They're racist. Good white people. Racist. Racism deals with a system of privilege, not how you feel about certain people. You understand? White supremacists is a different story. All races are not white supremacists. Like all white folks in Memphis at the time when A.L.L's friend got killed, they were racist. But not all of them were white supremacists. William Barrett was a white supremacist. He's the one that took the lives of her best friends. But this is a system set up to benefit white people. Whoever classified as white, they got an obligation to recognize that you cannot blame a black man or a black woman or a black child for hating them because it's based on their history. It's like your credit report. We base your credit score on what you have done in your past. So white folks' credit score, and it relates to black people, is very, very low. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very low. So that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what you got to understand, so you won't get it confused. But also we got to understand the importance of controlling our media. It's so important. I.B. Wells understood that importance. You look at David Walker, The Appeal, one of the greatest manifestos ever written. He understood the importance of controlling your media. Marcus Garvey understood the importance. Malcolm X, all our greatest leaders, Frederick Douglass, they understood the importance of controlling our media to tell these stories. These stories should be a part of every black school kid's curriculum. There's no reason why this story about what happened to Ida B. Wells Barnett friends and how she was galvanized to act and to respond in a certain way. She led the anti-lynching crusade for 7 years by herself. This is a black woman from the South, a former enslaved African, small, petite, pretty young lady, led a one-woman crusade against the bamboozlement and the genocide, the systemic genocide of her people by herself. So don't tell me what one person cannot do by themselves when they are inspired by the right reasons to do so. Don't tell me what you cannot do. You manifest your reality. You manifest your destiny. You have it within you to do what is right, not only by you, but by your people and by your ancestors. This is why we still remember what happened 125 years ago today on these hollow grounds, on these sacred grounds, by the railroad. And this is why I'm here. So I want to thank you all for listening to me, for Rant and Rave. I hope you got something out of it. Please read Ida B. Wells' autobiography. A lot of the stuff she wrote about is available online, free at PDF form and online. All that stuff is available. And thank you all. If you feel like you like what you heard from Mr. Hurd, please spread the word. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, We All Be TV. Please feel free to donate to the cause, the We All Be Moving cause. I want to thank everybody who have been donating, who have been listening, sharing the information that I present on this platform. I want you to know that I read every text, email, voice message, even some of the comments as I can. And I want to thank you all for believing in what I'm doing, because when you believe in me, you really believe in you, because we all be in it to win it. So in the words of Great Duke Elton, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing. And let me leave you with this food for thought through my music. And also, family, unfortunately, I want to add a footnote I had got from a very reliable source. Unfortunately, Thomas Moss died on March 9th, 1892. His wife was pregnant, 5 months pregnant with his son, I believe his namesake. And just like Emmett Till, which is eerie, his son ended up getting killed at 14. He was shot. I don't have any more details beside it, but it comes from a very reliable source. Just like Emmett Till's father died the way he died, and his son ended up getting killed at 14. This man died a crazy way, and his son ended up getting killed at 14. So that's something to think about. And so hopefully I can share more information about that as I get it. But yeah, that family got hit hard. But the black family has been getting hit hard by this system of white supremacy, racism. So there you go.